Fellas, Michael Morales is the real deal. Undefeated, just knocked out Gilbert Burns in just over a minute in the welterweight division. A new welterweight prospect. Sticking with my point that welterweight is now the most stacked division in the UFC with the rise of Morales and the amount of contenders we've got now. It's by far the best division in the UFC, but we're going to be going through the card of Burns versus Morales. I thought it was a pretty solid card. Unfortunately, we ended up losing. Paul Craig versus Blatter was the co-main event, but that was never really going to be a banger anyway. But we're going to be going through every fight on this card, giving my thoughts on breakdown. Like I said at the beginning, I thought it was a pretty solid card, and we'll start off with the first fight on the card, Luana Pinheiro versus Tecia Pennington. Now, I did say that I thought this was going to be the snooze fest of the card. I thought it was going to be the worst fight on the card. It wasn't that bad, you know. It was Tecia Pennington keeping Pinheiro away with kicks. I actually thought Pinheiro should have won this fight. I don't think it was a robbery, but I thought Pinheiro did enough to win. But Pinheiro did well with the grappling. She did well in the scrappy exchanges where she'd run in with the boxing and tag Tecia Pennington. Tecia Pennington did a good job at keeping her at range with kicks. And that was pretty much the entire story of the fight. It was fairly competitive, very close fight. I thought Pinheiro did win, though. I thought she won the second and the third round. Third round, she controlled with the grappling. Second round, she did better with the boxing. But they gave it to Tecia Pennington. That's two controversial wins in a row. But it was actually quite a solid fight. You know, I said this was going to be a snooze fest, and they actually kind of went for it. Still one of the worst fights on the card, but that is because this card had a lot of bangers on it. But yeah, decent fight between the two of them. Pennington beat her with kicks at range, kept Luana Pinheiro at range with the kicks, picked her apart. Obviously was inferior in the grappling exchanges. Not really much else to talk about in this fight. Tecia Pennington gets the win. Another decision win. If you're going to pick Tecia Pennington to win, you've got to pick her to win by decision. She's literally it's just impossible for her to finish your fight. She's incapable of finishing another human being. So Tecia Pennington gets the decision win over Luana Pinheiro. I thought it was fairly controversial. Is what it is. Then we had Hyun Park. I don't know what it is with Asians in the flyweight division and Asians in the flyweight division who keep getting fed or who keep getting given Carlos Hernandez. Hyun Park submits Carlos Hernandez in the first round, backs him up against the cage with his boxing, starts landing on Carlos Hernandez, and then manages to take him down, take the back, and chokes him out in just over 2 minutes, and is still undefeated prospect in the flyweight division. Park's an absolute beast. The guy's 10-0 in the flyweight division, undefeated with 9 finishes, only 1 decision in his entire career. He's got a huge finishing streak going on, slick boxing, even slicker Brazilian jiu-jitsu. This guy's a huge problem at 125. I don't know what it is, like I said, with these Asians in the flyweight division. Rei Saruya, Joshua Van, Tatsuro Taira, Kaya Sakura. Who's the other one as well that I'm missing out? There's another Asian as well in this division that I'm missing out. But yeah, Hyun Park definitely gets added to the list. Yeah, looked really good in this fight. Backed Carlos Sanders up against the cage, took him down and submitted him. Easy work from Hyun Park. This guy's going to go far. I think he's definitely got ranked potential in this division. Dangerous everywhere the fight goes. But I feel bad for Carlos Hernandez, man. I said it in the prediction video. You need to stop feeding this guy Asian prospects. It seems like Carlos Hernandez, in every single fight that he's in, is against this new Asian prospect from Road to the UFC. And he gets submitted. He got beaten by Rei Saruya, submitted by Tatsuro Taira, beaten by Hyun Park now. He's probably going to get cut from the UFC. So, but yeah, these Asians in the flyweight division are taking over. Hyun Park looks pretty solid. Like I said, 9 finishes, 10-0, undefeated. Kind of gone under the radar as well in the flyweight division because of his inactivity, but he's back. Gets the win over Carlos Hernandez. Said he wants to be active. I think he's 1 win away from the rankings of the flyweight division. We know this division is quite shallow, probably the 3rd most shallow division in the UFC. So get him out there in summer, give him another win, and if he gets past it later on this year, get him in the rankings, potentially the top 10. Give him somebody in the top 10 of the flyweight division because the guy's, he's got potential, man. He's not just a Rei Saruya who has to shoot takedowns all over again and only has jiu-jitsu. The guy's got the full package, slick boxing. I thought he could have won this fight if he kept on the feet, but he takes him down. The second he takes him down, he takes the back, gets the rear naked choke on Carlos Hernandez. Dominant win for Hyun Park. Then we had Denise Gomes versus Elise Reed. I predicted this fight perfectly. My prediction was Denise Gomes to get a TKO in the second round, and she gets the TKO in the second round. Yeah, she was just landing on Elise Reed, landing those overhand rights, cracking her a couple of times. Decided to take her down towards the end of the first round, but the second they got back in striking range, she landed on Elise Reed, knocked her out, wobbled her, and then went and put her, I think she was unconscious as well. Denise Gomes hits like a fucking truck. I told you she was going to win by stoppage. She's one of the hardest hitting women in the strawweight division. She hits very hard. I remember when she finished Yasmin Urege in like 20 seconds at UFC 290. She's a beast in the strawweight division. Hits like an absolute truck. Powerful for this division. And the reason I picked her to win by TKO and I was so confident with it was because Elise Reed, I mean, you've got, like I just said, Denise Gomes who hits like a truck, and Elise Reed, she's been finished in all 5 of her losses now. A lot of them by TKO. She's very susceptible to being finished. But yeah, easy win for Denise Gomes. Dominates her on the feet, takes her down and controls her as well towards the end of the first round, saying that she wanted to show that she's more well-rounded. And then they get back up on the feet at the beginning of the second round. Lands a massive overhand right and knocks out Elise Reed, who just cannot improve and is the biggest win-loss fighter in the women's strawweight division. But yeah, great win for Denise Gomes, pure domination. And like I said, I think if she can become a little bit more well-rounded, improve that grappling, maybe work on a striking technicality a bit, because it does seem like she's swinging a little bit, she can be a real problem in this division. I don't think she's ranked in the top 15, but I think we got to give her somebody in the top 15 after that. A couple of stoppages in the UFC, just knocked out Elise Reed out cold as well. That's got to be someone in the top 15 next for Denise Gomes. Real problem in this division. Hits like a truck. Another TKO. And for Elise Reed, I don't really care what she does. She, you know, it is what it is. Good win for Denise Gomes. And then we had another finish in women MMA as Luana Santos moves up to the, what was it, a bantamweight division, takes on Tainara at Lisboa and gets the submission in the second round. Another dominant performance from Luana Santos with the grappling. This entire fight was just purely grappling from Luana Santos, taking down Lisboa, controlling her with the grappling, and then right at the end of the second round, just as Michael Bisping said, you're not going to get the submission. She gets the submission win. I think it was a key lock submission over Lisboa, gets the submission, taps her out towards the end of the second round, and gets the finish. Yeah, Santos just dominated her with the grappling from start to finish. This wasn't competitive in the slightest. There were a couple of times when Lisboa impressed me, you know, she'd be able to improve her position or maybe threat a submission from bottom position, but the whole fight was pretty much Luana Santos dominating Lisboa, on top position, looking for submissions, dealing damage. She's a beast on the ground, and we knew this. I still can't believe she lost to Casey O'Neill, of all fighters. But apart from that, she's been dominating everybody in the grappling. Did it in this fight too. Had the top position, had the control time, gets the submission victory. I will say this about Luana Santos, though. As good as she is, she said she moved up to the bantamweight division because she wants an easy path to the title. And I mean, we're talking about the women's bantamweight division, probably the least developed division in the UFC. She's instantly going to be ranked in the top 10 probably, but she does look a little bit stiff on the feet. I was watching on her feet in this fight. I know she's facing Lisboa, who comes from like a Muay Thai background, but she definitely looked a bit stiff on the feet, is Luana Santos. So I think if she can improve her striking, she can be a real problem in the bantamweight division, probably top 5 worthy as well. I mean, we're talking about a division that is really not that stacked in the women's bantamweight division, where you just have to exist at 135 pounds and they'll put you in the ranking. So I think for Luana Santos, another great win, gets her in the top 10, and she's got star potential as well. She's got the look, she's got the style, she's got the finishing ability, which is not really something we see on a consistent basis in women MMA. So good win for Luana Santos, dominates Lisboa, gets the finish to put the cherry on top, and hopefully is going to be ranked in the top 15 in the women's bantamweight division. Then we had Conor Matthews against Yadier Delvalle. This is where the submissions start, this is where the finishes start rolling in, and it starts to go a bit of a streak as Delvalle gets the submission win over Conor Matthews. Yeah, just starts attacking Conor Matthews with the kicks on the feet, slashing the legs, slashing the body kicks, and then closes the distance. And the second the grappling exchange gets brought upon him, he ends up submitting Conor Matthews in the very first round, getting his UFC debut win. Easy win for Delvalle. Made it look easy against Conor Matthews, which I expected to happen. Takes down Conor relatively easy and submits him. Like the second he took him down, he took the back of Conor Matthews and was able to find a submission, the rear naked choke, and he choked him out in the first round. Yeah, that's going to be it for Conor Matthews in the UFC. The guy's 0-3 in the organization, all 3 losses being stoppages. He's 1-1 in the Contender Series too. I don't know how many more signs the UFC need to get that Conor Matthews probably isn't UFC worthy, with all due respect, but Yadier Delvalle gets another good win in the UFC. Hard to kind of measure how good Delvalle is, because we've seen him on the regional scene. It wasn't like he was this KO artist or this guy with super good finishing ability, and he's just gone out there and finished Conor Matthews' impressive fashion. But at the end of the day, we're talking about Conor Matthews, who's probably one of the lowest level fighters you could have given him. So I want to see how he performs when he gets to step up in competition. But he did look good regardless. You know, he was pretty quick. He looked good with a kick, set up the takedown, and like I said, got the submission pretty quick. So good win for Delvalle. Want to see him get a step up in competition and send Conor Matthews back to the regional scene after that. I mean, if he doesn't get sent back to the regional scene, it's disgraceful. Anyway, next fight we had was Jared Gordon versus Thiago Moises. Jared Gordon's back after being out for quite some time. I think his last fight was in like June of last year against Nasrat Hakparast. He gets the KO in the first round, probably a bonus worthy performance. I mean, there were a couple of finishes on this card, but that one by Jared Gordon definitely has to earn a bonus. He goes out there and just sleeps Thiago Moises in the first round, and he was winning this well. He took him down, got the control time, and then when he got back up into the feet, landed a massive overhand right and puts Thiago Moises to sleep. I can't remember the last time Thiago Moises was put to sleep. This guy's a veteran in the lightweight division. He's fought the who's who's. He's fought so many killers in this division, Thiago Moises, and I don't remember him ever being put out cold like that in a while. So for Jared Gordon, that's a massive bounce back win. Brutal KO, sends him unconscious. He's back in the lightweight division, and he was saying this in the Octagon interview, and he's kind of right. He should have a lot more hype than he is. I mean, he should be on a 6-fight winning streak. You look at the reason that, you know, what's stopping him from being on a winning streak. One of them was a no contest against Bobby Green, where Bobby Green headbutts him, and the other was one of the most controversial fighters against Paddy Pimblett. And I'm going to keep talking about that fight with Paddy Pimblett. That has aged massively well for Jared Gordon. To say that he won that fight, or at least came very, very close to winning, and now we see what Paddy Pimblett's doing in the lightweight division, that's a great sign for Jared Gordon. And then to go out there and sleep Thiago Moises in that fashion, definitely a top 20 lightweight. Could for somebody in the top 15. I think the top 15 of the lightweight division is a little bit too stacked for Jared Gordon to get somebody just off coming one win, but I think maybe 2-3 more wins and you've got to give him somebody in the top 15 of this division. Maybe rebook him against Bobby Green. That could be a good fight because the first one was a no contest, but much needed win. Dominated the fight as well. He was winning everything on the feet. He took him down, controlled him, dealt damage on the ground, and then the second they got back up, bam, knocks out Thiago Moises in the first round. Yeah, Thiago Moises, still tough, bit of a win-loss fighter, but Jared Gordon's back, gets the KO win. Probably a bonus-worthy performance. There were a shit ton of finishes on this card, as you can see, but that was definitely probably a bonus-worthy performance. Sent him into unconscious states. I can't remember the last time Jared Gordon slept somebody. I know he knocked out Mark Madsen a few years ago as well, but that was a much lower-level fight. It's a great win for Jared Gordon, back in the winning column. Technically should be on a 6-fight winning streak, and just sleeps Thiago Moises in the first round in dominant fashion. And then we had Matheus Camilo fail his UFC debut as he takes on Gabe Green, who made a massive comeback as he moved down to the 155-pound division. Yeah, Camilo was winning this fight. First round, pretty much nothing happened, but you've got to give it to Camilo because he landed more. Second round, it was Camilo's round as well. He was slamming Gabe Green. He had dominant position the entire fight, threatened a massive triangle choke, but then he just decides to lose. Gabe Green takes his back, and the second he locks in, it didn't even look like a proper good rear naked choke. It looked like a neck crank, if anything, or face crank, if anything. And he just taps immediately, but Gabe Green gets the submission as a massive bounce back in the second round. Massive comeback from Gabe Green, though. Obviously, did everything right, was able to hang in there. It was impressive how he would survive the triangle choke as well. When Camilo locked in that triangle choke, I thought it was done. I thought Gabe Green was finished, but yeah, there wasn't really anything to score in the first round, though. You know, nothing happened. Gabe Green didn't really throw anything. Second round comes along, he increases the output, starts throwing a couple of shots on Camilo, and manages to chalk him out in the second round. It is disappointing for Camilo, man. I thought this guy had a bit of hype. Obviously, got that win on not road to the UFC, on that Dana White looking for a fight, where he beat that fella who was at the press conference, and he looked like he had a bit of potential. And after this, you know, halfway through the second round, I thought this guy could go far. You know, he'd already posed a lot of threat to Gabe Green. He was dominating the fight, and then for him to give up a position that easy, which is an amateur mistake, and then tap, but it didn't even look that tight. It looked like a face crank that the second he got the crank going on, he just tapped. So it is what it is. Taps immediately. Good win for Gabe Green, though. Settled into 155. Still a dangerous dude. And yeah, looks good at 155. I would have liked to see a bit more output in the first round because I don't think he landed a single significant strike in that first round, if I remember. So I think he definitely needs to work on his striking a little bit, but he's back in the winning column after being out for quite some time. Good win for Gabe Green. Probably going to have to stay at 155 now. And for Matheus Camilo, I mean, maybe you give him somebody coming over from the contender series, or you just cut him from the UFC, because a bit of a disappointing performance, but it is what it is. He lost by submission, whatever. Then we had Julian Erosa versus Melquizael Costa. This fight perfectly shows us why we don't need the Apex and why we need it to be in crowded arenas, because this fight would have been insane. This would have been so much hype had it been in a crowded arena, because it was an absolute scrap. Both of these guys were just swinging back and forth. Julian Erosa putting on the pressure. Melquizael Costa landing the more significant shots. This was just an absolute scrap from start to finish. Both guys just going out there and swinging the fences. I think it's probably set a significant strike record in the Apex for the past couple of Apex cards, or for the past couple of cards in general. It was just an absolute banger of a fight. And despite all the bonus-worthy finishes on this card, I think you've got to give a 50k to this fight for fight of the night. You can't really get better than this. I mean, both guys wobbled each other. Both guys were landing shots. Both guys were walking forward. Well, it was mainly Julian Erosa walking forward, but it was an absolute scrap. Yeah, Melquizael Costa looked good in the first round. I mean, he was styling on Julian Erosa in round one. He was landing the more significant strikes. Julian Erosa couldn't really land anything on Melquizael Costa, and the grappling exchanges were in the favor of Costa. But as the fight progressed, it was going more and more in Julian Erosa's favor. He was walking forward. He was landing a lot more. The shots from Melquizael Costa started to have a lot less impact, and he was just throwing a lot less. So it was a good comeback from Julian Erosa. But the third round, it was just all guns blazing. Throw everything out the kitchen sink. Both guys just throwing back and forth, and it was a good win for Melquizael Costa. There was a few people saying it was a robbery. I didn't think it was a robbery. I thought it was a very close fight. Could have gone either way. They gave it to Costa. I'm not mad. That's 3 wins in 2025, which is impressive to consider that we're in May. He could potentially, you know, tie Kevin Holland for 5 fights this year if he gets another fight in the summer, and then maybe 1, maybe even 2 towards the end of the year, make it 6. But 3 wins this year, looked very good. I think he's 1 or 2 wins away from somebody in the top 15 of the featherweight division. I mean, what is he now on? Like a massive winning streak. 3 wins this year. Beat Julian Erosa, beat C-Rod, beat Philly. One more big win. Maybe you get somebody like Cub Swanson, and then you get him somebody in the top 15. Maybe like a, I don't know, just maybe like a Bryce Mitchell could be good. Melquizael Costa versus Bryce Mitchell. But either way, get him somebody in the top 15 soon. 3 wins this year. Absolute scrap. Give him a bonus. And fair play. And fair play to Julian Erosa as well. He's a bit of a veteran in his MMA career. He's had a shit ton of fights. And for him to still be making it competitive with guys like Melquizael Costa in a fight of that caliber where you just throw him back and forth, it was impressive, but good win for Melquizael Costa. And this is the reason why we need to get rid of the Apex. What's the good in having a scrap like this in a fucking Apex when there's no one there? When you could be having it in a sold-out venue on a pay-per-view. This is exact proof why we don't need the Apex. Why it needs to be in front of a crowded arena. But good win for Melquizael Costa. We then had Nursulton Ruziboev versus Dustin Stoltzfus. A fight that I probably would have told you I would have guaranteed to end in a stoppage. If you'd have told me this, you know, on paper, I would have told you that this fight would have been guaranteed to end in a stoppage. Ruziboev gets the decision win. Again, bit of a scrap in this fight. Ruziboev was definitely landing the more impactful shots on the feet. There were a couple of times when Stoltzfus did well. Had a massive guillotine on Ruziboev in the first round and won the, you know, most of the grappling exchanges. But Ruziboev was just lighting him up on the feet. Did good to escape the submission from Dustin Stoltzfus and kind of just big broad him in the entire fight. But again, it was another absolute war. I say it was a lot more less competitive this time around. I thought Ruziboev was just kind of piecing him up on Dustin Stoltzfus, but both guys are so dangerous. You know, Dustin Stoltzfus, kill or be killed guy. He's either going to put you to sleep or he's getting slept himself. And then Ruziboev, absolute KO artist. So I felt like this it was one of those fights where it could have ended at any second, but Ruziboev gets a decision win. He's so tall and hard-hitting for this division. Bearing in mind, this guy used to fight at 170 as well. Go and watch him versus Buckler. The size difference was crazy. I still don't understand how Ruziboev ever made 170 pounds, because even for the middleweight division is huge and hard hitting. He must be a nightmare to fight. Like a guy as rangy as Ruziboev who hits as hard, good everywhere the fight goes. Definitely top 15 potential in the middleweight division. I think if you put him against like a Gregory Rodriguez, I'd favor Ruziboev to win that fight. If you're going to give Gregory Rodriguez Jared Cannonier, I think it's only fair you give Ruziboev somebody in the top 15. I know they've booked Vittorio versus Allen. Maybe give the loser of that fight Ruziboev, because I think he's definitely got top 15 potential. Hits hard, rangy, clearly got hot as well, how you escaped that guillotine from Dustin Stoltzfus. Only loss in the UFC's to Joaquin Buckley, and that was a decision at 170 in his unnatural division. He's a big prospect in this division, probably one of the better prospects in the middleweight division as well. So massive win for Ruziboev. Called out Bo Nickel, which, to be fair, that's a fair call out. You know, I think Bo Nickel stylistically is a very easy fight for Ruziboev because, you know, like I just said, he's a tall, rangy hitter who's got decent anti-grappling, and Bo Nickel can't eat a single shot to save his life. So if he was scheduled against Bo Nickel, I reckon he'd crumple him and finish him in the first. But he's top 15 worthy. Good win for Ruziboev. Decent fight. Keep Dustin Stoltzfus in the UFC as well. Not somebody that you need to cut just because he's taken a loss. You know, he's, like I said before, a kill or be killed fighter. Just knocked out Marco Barrow in his last fight before this. So good scrap. Ruziboev gets the win. Then we had the co-main event. Was supposed to be the featured fight, and then Paul Craig and Bellator got cancelled, so this was the co-main event. Sodiq Yusuff versus Mairon Santos. A fight that I didn't really expect. Mairon Santos unanimously beat Sodiq Yusuff. He was just kind of picking him apart, not dominating the fight. You know, he wasn't going out there and absolutely piecing up Sodiq Yusuff, but he did the better on the feet. He was winning the striking exchanges and was able to walk to a decision after he successfully kind of just, walked down and beat Sodiq Yusuff, which I didn't expect. One thing I will say before I break down the fight is fucking hell. I know this is at 155, but Santos, this guy looks thick as hell in this fight. He's so fat. He's putting a few pounds moving up to 155, and none of those pounds are muscle. It's all fat. He's looking round for this division. But anyway, yeah, I must give my props to Mairon Santos. He fought Francis Marshall at UFC 313, and the general consensus is that it was a massive robbery. He had no business being in there with Sodiq Yusuff, but he showed up tonight and he made it competitive and he won the fight. This was a huge leap in competition. To go from barely beating Francis Marshall to Sodiq Yusuff, who was ranked in his last fight, is a massive step up in competition, and he looked great. He was picking apart Sodiq Yusuff. You know, he's looking better in the striking exchanges, and either Santos has massively improved after moving up to 155 between now and UFC 313, or Sodiq Yusuff has taken some major ring rust and was never as good as we thought he once was. Either way, it was a huge win for Mairon Santos to get a huge leap like that against Sodiq Yusuff, which I was confident that Sodiq Yusuff was going to dominate this fight, and he looked slick on the feet. It wasn't 155. Now I'm not sure if he's going to be staying at 155 or if he's going to move back down to 145. If he is going to stay in the lightweight division, I think 1 or 2 more wins, and you've got to give him someone in the top 15. I mean, he's just beat Sodiq Yusuff, whose last fight was Diego Lopez, so I think it's only fair for Mairon Santos. Who knows? Maybe like a Mairon Santos versus Jared Gordon. Those guys had good wins on this card at 155. Matched them up against each other, winning get somebody in the top 15. But good win for Mairon Santos. Was back into the Yusuff against the cage. Even the grappling exchanges, well, there weren't really any grappling. It was mainly just cage work. But when it came to cage work, that was in favor of Mairon Santos too. So good win for Mairon Santos. Huge leap in competition. Beat Sodiq Yusuff. And I can't wait to see what he does next. And then we had the main event. Michael Morales. This guy's the real deal. Knocks out Gilbert Burns pretty much flawlessly in the first round. Just starts teeing off on Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns covers up. Manages to stand back up after a second. And then as soon as they get back to striking range, it's just that again from Morales. Picking apart Gilbert Burns. And gets the TKO in the very first round. And moves to what is that now? 18-0. He's Michael Morales. He made it look easy against Gilbert Burns. We've never seen Gilbert Burns ever lose like that. We've seen this guy face Chimaev and take him into deep waters. We've seen him face Sean Brady and go 5 rounds with him. We've seen him face Jack Della Maddalena and give him problems. He's making it competitive with some of the best fighters in the world, and we've given him Morales. And Morales made it look fucking easy in this fight. Ran through him effortlessly in the first round. Took no damage. Took no threat. He didn't even really get taken down in the first round. And just ran through Gilbert Burns like nobody ever has before. That's a statement-making performance. And this brings me back to my point. Welterweight is by far the best division in the UFC now. Jack Della Maddalena is the champion. Bilal Muhammad's still at the top. Usman, Buckley, Ian Gary, Sean Brady. Who else have we got? Shavkat Rakhmonov. How could I forget him? Ian Gary, Michael Morales now, Carlos Pro. This division is by far the most stacked division in the UFC. There's so many good fights you can make between top contenders. You've now got undefeated Michael Morales to add to that list of top contenders, as he's just beat Gilbert Burns better than anybody has before. This is the prime division in the UFC. 155 had that crown for a long time. I think it's time we got to pass it to 170 with Morales. That's got to be it for Gilbert Burns now. You know, he's taken 4 losses in a row now, 2 of those being by way of finish. He hasn't won a fight since what, the Masvidal fight back in early 2023, so he's getting up there in age. He's probably going to be it. If not, maybe you can do him versus Colby Covington in like a fight night main event where the loser retires. But it's about Michael Morales, man. The guy shows up and he's drippy as hell. You know what I mean? He's got the dyed hair. If you look at him on what's that company that's the clothing company that sponsors him, guy's drippy as fuck as well as Michael Morales. Bit of a character. Call out Ian Gary as well before this fight. So I think maybe Gary versus maybe not Gary versus Morales because Gary's coming off a win, but I don't know who you give Morales. Somebody in the top 6 of the division. Either way, the whole point of this fight is that welterweight's a stacked ass division. Michael Morales is adding to that list of top contenders. The new young hungry guy goes out and blasts Gilbert Burns in the first round, and he's a new top contender at the top of the welterweight division. But those are my thoughts. Oh yeah, by the way, before we get into that, prediction record 9-3. Thought I did pretty well on predictions on this card, but there are a couple of fights that, you know, obviously let me down. But anyway, yeah, that's my full card thoughts. Breakdown on UFC Burns versus Morales. I thought for an Apex card, pretty solid card. It was decent on paper. Bit of a bummer that Paul Craig and Bellato ended up falling through, but it is what it is. I thought it was a solid card, and Michael Morales is fucking legit. Let me know your thoughts on this card. Thank you for watching.